Wonderful.
What's up, everybody? How are you?
I'm good. So hi there. This is Michelle Adams over here. Hello. Coming to you live with our sellers seminar. To kick it off, this is part one of our 7-part series of basically home selling 101 and how you're gonna go along the line of from start to finish and selling your home. So with me today, I have 2 local celebrities. We've got Peter Lorenzo and Christopher Baggio with the CrawfordLorenzo home selling team.
How are you?
So this is your panel. This is going to be the guys kind of just enlightening us on how, basically step 1 is, how to pick your agent. Really, when you look at the line or the process of real estate, one of the most important things for you to have is a person who understands your needs, your wants, your timelines, your budget, and you're going to put your trust into that one person who's going to be a great real estate agent who is really the hub of the entire real estate transaction and then kind of brings all the spokes together. So you've got one person continuously taking care of you, seamlessly walking you through the process and able to help you in any way. Okay, so if there are any questions during this, please just feel free to let us know. We're going to be about 45 minutes, just kind of like a free-flowing conversation, and we're really just going to tap on a couple of really key important things that you need to know when selecting the agent that is right for you. Okay, so one of the first questions that I always like to ask is, what in 3 words, really, what kind of makes the perfect agent?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You're looking at 3 words?
Yeah, 3 words, 3 attributes.
I would say, I'll pick the first one. Someone who is going to listen to your needs and is an effective communicator.
Okay.
I'll do one. I wrote down some of my ideas, and I appreciate the questions up front too, so we can be prepared. Michelle mentioned something about us and our team at the CrawfordLorenzo home selling team. I think one of the main attributes is, it goes along with dedication, but availability. And when you're on a team like this, there are certain things that we should be doing for our clients, and the back office gives us the availability to service our clients above and beyond. So dedication / availability.
Yeah, no, great qualities. And I know that everyone on the CrawfordLorenzo home selling team has those qualities.
Yep.
Including myself.
I think one more.
Okay.
I think one more since we were looking for 3.
I thought we were doing 3 each. It's not fair.
Well, I would say you also want somebody that knows the market, knows the competition of what we're up against as far as the other homes that may be on the market. And the third part of that little answer is knowing the players, right? So knowing the other agents and knowing, who the players are, who on the other side of our transaction is good at getting the deal done. I think that's very important.
I'm going to just dovetail for what Chris said, because he took mine and we didn't get together before this, but knowledge of market, which I that was my other one, but and Chris mentioned this too, resources. Listing your home these days, you need a tremendous amount of resources, whether it's inspectors, with the vendors that you have up front, and if something goes by the wayside, be able to have the resources to get the right person on it immediately is key. So, yeah. We both had the same thing. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And not talking to each other prior.
And you kind of really both hit on what I had mentioned when we first opened the Facebook Live, is that you are that one person, that one individual who is really the glue behind the entire transaction.
With a team behind us.
With the team behind you, and then with all of the vendor relationships that we have. They only say that the whole is only as strong as the parts. And when you really put everything together, you really need an agent that not only knows how to, sweet talk you into listing your home, but that can also back that up with action and with the relationships.
I think also what I've found in our society, there's so many things coming at people with information, and just information's coming through people 10 times, maybe 20 times the amount of 10 years ago. Having one person to go to is key. So when we're listing with somebody, you always have one person that's leading, but as Gordon would always say, and we learned from him, it's hard for that one person to do everything. So behind the scenes, we have experts to do the listing. They bring in our media company, do the descriptions, follow up on leads, marketing, and that's social media. So you want to have that one person that has the resources behind them, because if they're trying to do everything at once, nobody is an expert at everything. So today's real estate agent, I actually get to this later, so it talks about what a real estate agent is today, per your question.
Yeah, but I'd like to point out something really funny really quickly, is that Pete was saying that you need a really good team behind you, and behind Pete right now we have Diana, who is our listing associate. Say hello, my dear.
Hello.
Real activity. She's working right now.
clients
She's
here.
listing things right now.
Yeah.
So that was just really kind of a funny situation right there. So, okay, well, we've kind of tapped on this a little bit, but you are, let's just assume that you put yourselves in the position of you are looking to sell your home, right? What should you be looking for in an agent? And again, we did kind of touch on a couple of those things, but what would you say would be the number one thing that you need to look for in an agent?
I started with this. I have some other things, but I hear this a lot. Well, I have a friend. Okay. It is the most competitive market we've probably seen, either the first, second, or third most competitive market. I have a friend for a lot of things too, but would they use them for this, or this? And it is your number one asset that you're probably going to own in your life. I have a friend, I'm always looking for new business, and I think when I see that in a competitive market, you want a professional. You want a professional business. You want a professional that you're working with, because you get into some conversations and some things that are tough in a competitive market. You don't know what's going to come up. So everybody knows an agent, but I tend to say, stay away from the friends a bit and work on having a professional.
Except for our friends. We want our friends to hire.
Except for our friends and family,
There's
right?
sometimes I don't, though. There's sometimes I don't. That's what's nice about a team, too. When we have somebody, if it's somebody that I'm working with, it's funny. It's how I met Kathleen, if you're watching, and I gave her to somebody else on my team. I would give somebody to Chris. Chris may give somebody to me or Michelle. So we have the ability to do that. We're still overseeing it, but yeah.
And I think what Pete's also trying to say is that, a lot of the times your brother's cousin's sister's boyfriend's daughter isn't necessarily
Right.
an experienced agent. They don't walk the walk, right? So that's something you want to do your due diligence, definitely in when you're interviewing agents. And and to that kind of segue, Chris, what are some key things that, well, number one, how many agents should they interview, right? And then number two, what should the questions be, like your top questions?
Yeah, I don't think there's any number for that. I mean, honestly, I think if you should talk to as many people as it takes to find somebody that you're really comfortable with. This is, like we mentioned, this is a big decision. So you're looking for somebody, first and foremost, with a good reputation. And you can go online and look up people's reputation, especially in real estate. You can go to Google, you can go to Zillow, you can go to Facebook, and you'll read people's testimonials, read their reviews. Zillow will tell you, how many transactions they've had, things like that. So you want to make sure you're getting somebody with experience, with a good reputation. And then when you meet those people, I think the two, the question was, what should you look for in an agent? I think in addition to reputation, it's somebody that's going to be honest and somebody that has integrity. And a lot of times in a conversation, people are going to ask me questions, and I joke about it, but it's the truth. It's like, do you want me to tell you what I think or what I think you want to hear? Because sometimes those aren't the same things. And my job is to give you our professional, our job is to give you our professional opinion, and sometimes it's not going to be what you want to hear, but I would rather be honest with you up front, and even if you decide not to go with me, and we come across this a lot when it comes to pricing. They might go with another agent who tells them, no, you can get a higher price for your house, and we have different pricing strategies, and we can get more into that. But for me, I'm always going to tell you what I think, and not what you want to hear. And if that means you're going to go with somebody else, that's fine. Best of luck. I hope it works out. We're not always right, but we do get paid to have an opinion and to give you our playbook for how we think we should help you get your home sold. And it's a collaborative decision, right? We can only give you our advice and our feelings, but every decision that gets made is a mutual decision, and we discuss it. And there's a lot of times where I tell a client, okay, we could try your price, but I just need you to promise me that we will listen to what the market is telling us, because then at that point, it's not me telling you, it's the market telling you. For a price too high, and the house stays on the market for a little too long. So I think we're all flexible. We have our ways, we have our methods. Every situation is a little bit different. So I know it's a long answer to that question. But
right.
Honesty and integrity.
I love that. Honesty, integrity. It's a complicated
Hard work
question.
and common sense.
Yeah.
Those are the pillars.
This is very true. So, along that line of thought, understanding that you had mentioned, looking at the reviews and looking at how many transactions they've had. Now, I'm a relatively newer agent, next to the two of you. I've only had 30 transactions. I have 18 reviews. But would I be if you're not looking at those two items, right? What else should you be looking for in an agent?
May I?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was interviewing you, I want to know. I want to know on the other side that seller is respecting me professionally. There's the reviews, but do I get along with them professionally? This is a business decision. This is a business transaction. I think a lot of the TV shows and things out there in real estate right now, and they're doing this, they're doing that. It's social this, it's social that. Is professionally across the table. What professional experience are you bringing to the table, and do you get along with them professionally? Mm-hmm. It's do you get along with them professionally? There are certain people I get along with on a friendly basis, and I can have fun with, but professionally, that's what I think a seller should be looking for.
Okay.
Somebody you can trust, because it's gonna get rocky. We'd love to come in and say that every situation is going to go smoothly. Every sale is going to. There's always going to be bumps in the road, and you want to make sure you're working with somebody that you're able to have that relationship with, you can communicate with, and you can help solve those problems together.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very important. So, a lot of the time when agents are going out on their listing appointments and they're talking with the sellers, they come with all the bells and whistles, right? The marketing plan, this, that, or they don't, So, as a seller sitting on the seller side, what would you think would be important to them to look at? Obviously some sort of marketing plan, right? What should be included in that marketing plan that are just absolutely must-haves for every listing? But if an agent doesn't have it, they probably might not be the best agent to pick.
Are we giving away our special sauce?
No. I'm not saying go into details. I'm just saying, okay, just give me the top 3. You don't have to give me all 5.
I know. And I don't mind sharing this. I share this with everybody. I share it in my Monday morning market review. Pricing. I do think you need to know. I wrote down knowing who your buyer is probably going to be. Okay, there's a probably there. There's the marketing. There's the media that needs to be done to attract that person. I'm big on pricing right now, and I always say building confidence in your buyer. As the seller, you're looking for me to find the right buyer and the right agent. So I'm not going to go into all of my little idiosyncrasies, but I play things out and out of what they could be. So making sure that I set my price point here so I know the conversations that are going to be And that's why I think people hire experience, because they know, we did over 100 transactions last year. We had discussions around all of them. So they need to come to the table with experience. And that could be cumulatively on our team. We have some agents that did 10 transactions and some that did 30. But from a team perspective, if they're sitting down with anybody, it's collaborative and having the experience of what could happen. Not that we have crystal balls, but we want to have as much foresight as we can into each transaction. So I think.
You have something to add to that, Chris?
I always say, and I think your best marketing tool is where you price the house. You could have the best marketing, the best social media presence. You could be in magazines, but if you're priced way too high, no one's going to see it. So I think it kind of starts with the basics, and we fill in around it. But to me, the most important thing is making sure the home is priced right, and then getting it out to the public through the proper channels. And I think we do a really good job of that.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of a very sweet spot where if you price it too high, you have people looking but not putting offers in. And if you price it too low, then you have a ton of unqualified buyers coming through your house.
Yeah, I always go back to Gordon's story about the milk, right? You go into the store and there's 1 gallon of milk that's priced at $4 and it doesn't have a fancy label on it, or the carton's not fancy. And then you have the other one that's $8. The people are going to buy the one for $4. So it's about, you have to price competitively. I think that's the most important thing you can do. And there are plenty of times when maybe we do price a little bit high, and it's a collaboration once again. But I think more importantly is reacting to what the market is telling you, listening to what the market is telling you. I think that's very important. And I think there's a fine line there, and at various price points, there's different strategies. At certain price points right now, if a home isn't selling the first weekend, you're probably priced too high. At the higher price points, you have to have a little bit more patience, and there's a little bit of an art to it, I guess.
And I've lost listings because I've had other agents come in, really go get the listing because they overpriced the house, and I've been honest, and I will say, I can't do it at that, because this is what I think is going to happen, and it's not what I think is going to happen at the time of the sale. It's what I think is going to happen 3, 4, 5 weeks down the road with appraisals, conversations, inspections. Those are things that all tie into the price point of the house, and unless, like Chris says, it's we're doing it with them, but I never just go in and people are hearing, they're seeing that a lot, but you're going to see those houses stay on the market, and then people are going to think, what's wrong with them? First question that's going to come out.
Yeah, and sometimes people can get lucky, but to me, luck and hope is not the strategy.
Right.
No, I think a good rule of thumb is, to price the house to appraise. Right?
And know your competition.
Right. And I think there are certain things, like put yourself in the shoes of the buyer. The inventory right now. Yeah, would you go a little bit higher because of that? Maybe. Is that going to play into the appraisal? No. Is it going to play in the conversations and the offers? Yes. And you have to know how to navigate that.
Yep. Nope. I completely agree. So regarding, the pricing and the Zillow reviews, or whatever reviews you're looking at, Google or Realtor.com, and the experience, it does come down to relationship, right? The professional relationship, to make sure that you're basically trying to find someone who is going to represent your home as if it were theirs. As they want to put as much care and attention into listing and marketing and selling your home as they would do their own. So with that, communication is very important, right? So how often should you be communicating? Now you've selected your agent, okay? You've got someone, and now we're ready. How often should that agent be communicating with you throughout the process? And specifically once the house is on the market?
I'll start with this, and I want to give you kudos because I think it was a great question, and I didn't realize that till I wrote the answers. And I think, and everybody knows, that, you know, we all follow in Gordon's footsteps on the CrawfordLorenzo team. Gordon's been such a tremendous advocate for agents out there. And I think when I started 10, 11 years ago, agents were still fighting for respect. And over the past decade, I think that's changed tremendously. Yeah, maybe for the TV shows and things like that, but through COVID, and we saw our necessity. So it goes back into communication. Your agent, and this actually was the first time I thought about it, needs to be a master of communication. And that's at a lot of different levels. I wrote at the highest level. So if you don't have an agent that is of the highest level of communicating, you need to find one. I think you have to be in person with certain people on certain things. You have to be email. That is certain things that need to be documented and shared to certain people and maybe not to other people at certain times. A phone call for certain discussions, and then text usually for updates only. So when I say master communication, you know, we're dealing with attorneys, financial advocates, professionals, accountants. Those are all people involved, high level, and I put real estate agents right up there. So you have to have a high level of communication. Per the timing of that, you know, I'm in touch with my clients probably daily at different levels, but you have to be a master of that and know how your client responds to it and how they want you, you know, how they want you to be in touch with them. Usually it's more than less, but that's how I look at it. So you want to find an agent. That's a great question to ask an agent if you're interviewing them. How do you handle certain things at different levels of importance? Because every day you have different levels of importance, different people involved, issues that come up. How is that all being handled, communicated, documented, etc.?
No, I agree. I you know, my philosophy is, you know, when I meet with somebody, I mean, people are different. Some people want to know what's going on at every single showing. I mean, my view is, you know, typically we'll kick off a listing with an open house, and I tell the client, I said, you know, I'll be in touch with you after the open house. I'll give you all the feedback. I'll give you the positives. I'll give you the negatives. I'll let you know how many people came. I'll let you know how people felt we were priced. After individual showings, that's where it gets tricky. Sometimes, you know, because we're oftentimes relying on another agent to give us that feedback, and we can't control whether or not they answer. But I have clients that say, Chris, you know, I only need you to reach out to me when you have something really important to say. I have other people that want to know every little thing. So it all depends on the client, and we're able to service the client, you know, meet them where they're at, right? Not necessarily, you know, it's not about an ego or an agenda with us. It's about just finding that working relationship that's going to be mutually beneficial, and the best ways to communicate. Some people are text only. Some people are, they want you to pick up the phone. Some people are email, you know, and it's about finding that happy medium and, you know, communicating with people the way they like to be communicated with.
Mm-hmm. So along the same lines of communication, right? Obviously that's an expectation that everybody should have of their listing agent, that they're going to communicate with you in whichever way you want to be communicated. But what other things would you say would be important for that listing agent to, you know, to maintain that level of communication, to maintain the relationship?
You know, to me, it's like you have to show that you're on top of your game, right? So when things happen in the market that we see, when, you know, you get a move in interest rates, when another house comes on the market in that same price range, like, we have to be on top of that. We're the eyes and ears. So, you know, you want an agent that has their finger on the pulse. And I think, you know, it's a little bit of a self-promotion about CrawfordLorenzo, and I tell all our agents this, like, you know, we're on the forefront of, this is where we have the advantage, you know, we're on the forefront of little shifts that are going on in the market from time to time. Having a group of 12 full-time agents gives us an advantage over a lot of the single agents out there, the solo agents that are kind of doing it on their own. We kind of know what's going on. I know what our pipeline is. I know what listing appointments we're going on collectively as a team. So I have my finger on the pulse where I could tell people, hey, we have a bunch of listings coming up that are going to hit the market, or we don't, you know. And I think it's our job as agents is not, we can't predict the future, but our job is to interpret the current market. And I think we're exposed to a lot, and we have our finger on the pulse, and I think that's what gives us a bit of an advantage, and that in turn gives our clients that advantage too.
Right. So to dive a little bit deeper into the difference between a team approach versus an independent agent approach, and sorry, you just prompted this question. It's not.
No, I like it.
You didn't prepare for this one. But what would you say would be the main advantage? Obviously, we're coming from a team perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not necessarily leaning towards one or the other, but what would be the main differences between the team approach and the individual agent approach? Like, give me at least one good example for each, and for which one would work.
I'll give you three.
Okay.
No, I'll give you. The first one, Chris just touched on. Whether you are doing a science project or you want multiple reads on things, and I love, I have some of my really good friends are agents, and they kind of are going at it alone, which works for them. I always like being around a group because I think a group, you're just constantly reinforcing what's happening, and that gives me true data. That was one of my favorite. I'm actually an agricultural science major, so I did a lot of science, and you're looking at data, and you can't. It's hard to disagree with facts, and the more facts you have, the more valuable you're going to be. The better you can anticipate things, which I also, for those of you who know me, I love. My mind runs like a franchise. It's always like systematic. So to get those systems into place, it needs to see rhythms, and it needs to see facts, and it needs to see what's happening, and then I'll put together, well, this is what I think. It's not a crystal ball, but I'd much rather have 10, 12 bits of information than 1 or 2 bits of information. So I think while single agents are out there trying to do all that and do everything, we kind of always do it collectively, kind of like an amoeba. We're just working collectively. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. Go, you have one?
I mean, I know for me personally why I love being on a team, and I played team sports, right, growing up, and so there's something about achieving things with other people, right? I think from a client-facing standpoint, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So I happen to think my strengths are people and numbers. When I go on a listing appointment and I bring Diana here with me, or Michelle has come on listing appointment, they have a great eye for things that I just don't, right? So if you're going to go with somebody who's like a solo agent versus a team, I think the team concept for me works because I'm able to, bring people with me who can kind of fill in my gaps. If you're searching for a solo agent, maybe you're going to go that route. They may be better at certain things than others. They may be a master of all trades, who knows? But I just know what I'm comfortable with, and I know what is effective and what has worked for me, and I don't have all that pressure to be all things to all people, and that's a very powerful thing to have the team behind me and Pete and Michelle and Diana, and I think that's what sets us apart. I really think that's what gives us a competitive advantage also.
I think Gordon, that's why I came to Keller Williams, because I could hear him now in the hall. But Michael talked, when we came to KW, Gordon in his footsteps, we were always able to get Keller Williams set us up from how we set up our market centers with a back office to give agents on the team the ability to provide great service to our clients. Real estate has changed even since I started, and Gordon would say it changed when he started, where it's just extremely difficult for one person to do everything. And can one person do all that? Yes, but you only have so many hours in a day. So to have Marie, doing operations, and Diana working right now. Marie's actually in that office right there working on the business. She's working on more in the business, not on the business. We got Diana working on listing appointments. We've got our transaction coordinator, updating that stuff, doing documents, as we're sitting here too. So it lets Chris and I be there, and it lets all of our other agents be there for our clients, which is getting more and more difficult as the traditional, single agent, great, but the single agent has to do all of this for that client, all of this for this client. We're able to do the top 5 things for each client and spend our time there at the cream of the crop for our clients, which is great.
And be in constant communication with your client.
Yeah, that's
because you don't have to worry about staging the house. You don't have to worry about taking the photos. You don't have to worry about doing the marketing pieces.
We're doing the big things to keep that, whether it's a seller or marketing a house. As a seller, we want to find a buyer, or we want to find an agent with a buyer. For a buyer, we want to spend time finding them a house. Those are the things we should be working on as agents. Single agents, it's hard to do that. So, and it's something we take pride in and build, and the right people, are here. So we take extreme pride in that. I also love our team, who just like Chris said, being on a sports team. You're not just, and people know they're either an individual agent who thrive in that, or you do thrive in a team. Like, I love coming to work and seeing Chris every day, or Michelle, or Diana, or Marie, John's here, Olga's here. I love being part of that team. They're become best friends of mine, and that's important too, because that's a great culture, and that's going to provide great service.
God knows we spend enough time together. We might as well get along.
We're so glad we do.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So and it is going to come down to what you said. I like what you said at the very beginning, that professional relationship.
Totally.
At the end of the day, it's all about who you are most comfortable with. Now, obviously you want to make sure that the person that you select or the team that you select is going to have all of the experience, the ratings, they know what they're doing. They can guide you in the way that, they're going to sell your house for the most amount of money that the market can bear. So, regarding, expectations of a listing agent for a seller, right? And again, not a question that you guys prepared for, what would be the expectations from an agent's perspective on the seller? Like, how does this relationship really work together?
I want to work with clients that are going to take our advice, because it's not my advice, it's our advice. This is what we do, and you're hiring professionals, right? And I want homes that are going to be, when we list them on the market, they're going to be in show-ready condition. As a listing agent, I want access to that home. So I want to make, people, it's a pain in the neck. You list your home and you have appointments and people coming and people going, and it's tough. People are trying to keep their house clean, or they might have pets, or they might have kids, but the only way we can get your home sold is to get people in to see it. And so obviously having coachable clients for me is great. And I have clients that some of them are just like, Chris, whatever you think we should do, we trust you. And that's a big thing, is that trust. Other clients are a little bit more hands-on, and they want to be involved more in the process, and that's okay. And there's a give and take as long as we're communicating, right? It comes back to that communication. But when things aren't going as planned, it's like, okay, how are we going to communicate to get us back on track? And because that's in the end of the day, that's the most important thing, right? That's what you hire us for. It's to get you the most amount of home money for your house in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle, right? That's our goal too. Right. We're all kind of on the same page here. So yeah, I like to work with people that are coachable, but sellers and buyers.
Yeah, and that actually, it's I think Gordon said this maybe, but basically, would you trust, a butcher to give you an oral exam?
Right.
Would you hire the professionals because we know this industry, because this is what we do, this is our job, we eat, we breathe, we sleep real estate. And would you trust somebody else who just kind of did it part-time or just kind of dabbled in it?
Right.
So the fact that we are here to offer the suggestions and the advice because we do know what we've done, we have done this before, and this is not I love this term. This is not our first rodeo, right?
Right. But and listen, I've heard Gordon also say this. I couldn't tell you in a million years exactly how much you're going to get for your home. You know, like we could price a house here, and if one person likes it, it's worth this. If 2 people like it, it's probably worth this. If 5 people like it, it's worth this. That's a little hard to predict. However, you know, once again, our job is to interpret the current market, communicate effectively what we're seeing, and have the hard conversations if necessary, because that's what we're hired to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes down to respect on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're gonna have tough conversations. You're gonna have people not get along. So it's like you're gonna have smooth transactions. As long as you can be honest with each other and respect each other through the process. And look, like Chris said, all we want is a smooth transaction. And there are going to be some stressful things that come up. I think it's getting married, somebody passing away, and selling your house are the 3 most important things or stressful things you can go through in your life. I have somebody going through 3 of those at the same time, and that's hard. And there's tough conversations, and there's caring, and sometimes there's crying, and sometimes there's hand holding, and sometimes, you know, there's extra things that go into it. But if you can be honest and caring and trustworthy with each other, I mean, it's an awesome career. Not that we get into that, but we feel that way, and you know, that's what we want to see in our clients, and we want our clients to see that in us.
Yeah.
It's not just, man, putting a for sale sign in the yard. That's God, it's like a sliver, a little of a mountain. You know, you don't just put a for sale sign in the yard and sell your house. There's so many things that go behind the scenes. So.
Well, that's like the old 3 Ps, right? You put the house on the MLS, you put the sign in the yard, and then you pray that it sells.
Yeah, no,
it's and also, like, to get into what Pete was just talking about people going through life events. And, you know, for me, it's and for us, when you're hiring us, you're hiring people that we value the relationship more than the transaction, right? I mean, we always appreciate everybody's business, but in the end, it comes down to a relationship. And I want, at the end of our transaction, I want to know that you'd be comfortable hiring me again, referring me to your family and friends, because that's what it's all about. That's how we build our business, is by doing the right thing, by communicating effectively, even if things don't go exactly according to plan, which oftentimes in a real estate transaction it doesn't. You know? But it's how we react to those situations is, I think, what sets us apart.
And we talked to a lot of people that are listing right now. It's probably more than maybe it's not a half to list, but there's some high motivating factors there, because most people are at probably a 3% mortgage rate. So if you're listing your home, there's a reason to do it. And if there's a reason to do it, there's other things that are coming into play. And to understand all those things to help those sellers achieve what they want to achieve. You know, I didn't mention, you know, coaching, or we have to have all those hats, but working together and just respect and be honest, upfront, calm, cool and collective, we'll get it done. I'm seeing that more so than any time in the past 10 years, that each transaction is just a lot more personal things going on. You know, baby boomers, somebody passed, have to move. There's emotions tagged to that, and that means honest and upfront conversations. Hold, we can't do this. Okay, we can do this, or options, all that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any closing comments, closing advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just it's you know, real estate can get very personal, and everybody has their own goals. So it comes down to knowing what our clients' motivations are. Mm-hmm. You know, what's important to you. Why are you selling your home? When we come to see your home, tell me about your home. Tell us about the things you've done. What do you like the most about the neighborhood? What are you going to miss the most? You know, things like that. Information like that helps us weave some of that into our marketing, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to have, you know, good, honest communication and know what's important to our clients. And when things get off track, we need to bring them back to their motivations, why they decided to sell their home in the first place, because that's the big picture, right? And it's keeping everybody calm and cool when we hit those speed bumps.
That's exactly what I would say too. I start my conversations off on a listing appointment of where do they need to go and why, and what do we need to do to get them there, and then work our way backwards with a, you know, all the plans, all the personal things, all the resources that they need, and then set that up and just start, create your plan and work with that. So yeah, 2024 I'm excited about. 2025 I'm excited about. So
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we could talk about this for another couple hours.
we have what, six more sessions?
Yeah, so we have 6 more
Awesome.
sessions. So thank you all for joining the first part 1 of our 7 parts. So each one is going to kind of dive in and dissect the entire process. So thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you,
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for watching.